This that jumpin', yeah. This that jumpin', start like 23. This that jumpin', 2-4 like Kobe. This that jumpin', shoot my shot, then beat. This that jumpin', right around smoke my trees. This that jumpin', start like 23. This that jumpin', 2-4 like Kobe. This that jumpin', shoot my shot, then beat. This that jumpin', right around smoking my dreams. I be ballin' in music like Kobe. I'm the greatest to ever do it, they don't know it.
What's up, everybody? Good evening and welcome into a very special episode of Turtles Take here on the Undefeated Sports Network. I say very special because it's been a while since we've got to grace the airwaves together with both of us live on stream, Vince. So good to be back tonight. How you doing, bro?
Man, I'm good. How about you? It's been a while.
Hanging in there, man. It for sure has been a while. Had some family stuff that kept me occupied for a little while, but ready to be back at it and jump in and talk sports with my guys here. And ought to be a good time. Lots to talk about, especially being a Bears fan in Chicago right now. Obviously, all the drama around our guy, Justin Fields. Will he be here next year? Is he going somewhere? We'll get into that a little bit later and when we talk draft scenarios, but we're joined tonight by special guest Darrien Boone, a professional quarterback who's played overseas as well as here in the U.S., so he'll be sure to give us his perspective when he jumps in with us here in probably about 15-20 minutes. We'll wrap the show up tonight talking a little bit of Bulls, as painful as that is. We got to talk about Zach and how big of a crybaby he's being, as well as touch on the Cubs and that Shohei Ohtani watch, man. I mean, is there a chance he comes to Chicago? We'll get into it. I would love to see it. But we got a good show lined up for you guys. So with that being said, I'd say let's get right into it, Vince. It's been a while since we've got to talk some football. So I want to start out.
I'm a little distracted because I got this big picture next to me on the TV of Mitchell Trubisky's face. It's like it's haunting us.
Like I was telling you a few moments ago before we came on, that's the number one thing for me is I can't take Drake May because I'm still scarred from the Mitchell Trubisky experience that was Mitch playing football here in Chicago. So with that being said, we got our guy Ace in the chat in honor of Andrew returning. Roll Tide. I love it. That is a hot take, especially with all these FSU fans out there right now. FSU fans,
travesty in the history of college sports.
Oh, get out of here. Did you want to watch a backup quarterback for FSU?
Yes. Do you know why? Because they were 13-0. They deserve to be there.
Well, maybe they'll be there next year when there's 12 teams.
Doesn't matter. It's all about the Longhorns.
We're not talking college football tonight, guys. We're going to jump right into talking about our Chicago Bears. And Vince, it's been a while since we got to talk. So I just want to start the show by saying, or getting your grasp rather, on Justin Fields' play over the last couple weeks since he's been back, what he's done this season and how you're feeling on Justin.
I mean, I think it's twofold, right? Like, obviously, we want to see Justin keep taking those steps. Hard to say that we took a step forward last week, winning a game without scoring a touchdown. But you know,
but you won in the clutch, so to speak. You had that game-winning drive to chip shot it and put it away. It should have never came down to that. And I think we can both agree on that. I mean, obviously, fumbles by your quarterback.
For me, if he doesn't make those two fumbles in the fourth quarter, you have a way better feeling about him in that game.
Absolutely.
You know, he was lucky that the team bailed him out and that Minnesota forgot how to play football.
I like that you put that way, that Minnesota forgot to play football.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know.
Been rolling.
Yeah, I don't really know what happened. You know, Josh Dobbs, like, that game, it just seemed like he had never played football before. Like, he was not really a quarterback. Oh, Mitch just got picked off. Sorry.
Beautiful.
I had to throw that
back
in
to our current Chicago Bears, man.
So I think the big thing for me is I don't see how Ryan Poles could take a quarterback in the draft. If you take a
Marvin Harrison
quarterback,
Jr., son.
what's that?
You got to take Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, well, I mean, with either of the picks, though, like even if you had picks 1 and 2, like I just don't see how you take a quarterback. If you take a quarterback, you're saying, okay, we're not going to compete next year because nobody goes into the draft, drafts a quarterback, and says, okay, we're going to compete this first year 1 with the quarterback.
Right.
You
Clearly,
know,
you're seeing a little bit of that in Houston with C.J. Stroud right now. You see the
I
potential.
mean, look at Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence, right? Like Trevor Lawrence was the chosen one. He was the next big quarterback to make it to the NFL.
Right.
And although he's shown much more flashes as a passer than Justin has, at this point you can't say that he's sure thing to take them to the Super Bowl. Like he's made just as many mistakes as anybody else has. Whether it be because of coordinators, coaches, the Urban Meyer fiasco, whatever it was, like I just at this point you haven't seen he's not where we all thought he would be at this point. So
and no quarterback from that class really is. I mean, with the exception of Justin and Trevor, all the other quarterbacks are backups or benched. So
right, absolutely, and so you've seen all that, and then we spoke, Angelo and I, last week about it with Lester that if you take the court, like even Peyton Manning, he threw 35 interceptions as a rookie. Like you're not expecting to compete with a rookie quarterback. So if you're with Ryan Poles with his job on the line, he has to compete now. Like he has to. They cannot continue to go 3 wins, 5 wins, whatever it is. And then sorry, go ahead.
So you bring up an interesting point there. Not to segue from Justin Fields too much, but Ryan Poles, you just said you think his job's on the line. I don't think they're there with him yet. I think Ryan Poles has another season
absolutely,
or 2, no matter what, just based on the rebuild. I mean,
my thing is if I don't think I see 0, at least in my mind, 0% that he doesn't come back next year. But if you go into next year and you make these draft picks, all that, and then you win 5 games again next year, at some point Kevin Warren is going to say, hey, I've had enough. I'm going to bring my own guy in here because we need to win.
Right. No, I definitely understand that. I think, like you said, there's no chance that they move on from Poles at the end of this season. He definitely gets one more year, no matter how it shakes out.
Yeah.
Here the rest of the season, and I'm glad we're on the same page with that because that's something we don't have to debate tonight.
Right.
And I look at Justin Fields. I look at the body of work that he's put out there this season. The Bears obviously should at least have 2 more wins under their belt at this point, right? You look at the game against Denver, they should have won that game.
Yeah.
For sure. And then really, you look at just the entirety of the season, really, with the exception of the Chiefs game, and you see some things. You see the flashes of Justin Fields, but we've talked about that for almost 3 years now, that we see the flashes. We haven't seen the consistency that we'd like to see week over week. However, you are starting to see the numbers improve in the passing game, with the exception of last week, where the game plan was, we're just going to go out there and give you the Tyson Bagent game plan treatment and throw 35 screen passes. Like Luke Getsy was out with his buddies the night before the game, and one of them said, I bet you won't throw 30 plus screen passes. And he was like, hold my beer and watch this shit. I'm going out there. That's what I'm doing. No, but in all seriousness, I mean, I think that Justin has definitely progressed as a passer this season. Maybe not to the level that we would have liked to have seen, but him and DJ Moore are the number 2 wide receiver quarterback duo, only behind Tyreek Hill and Tua Tagovailoa in the NFL right now. So you see Justin's QBRs improved. I think it's around a 92.7 average for the year thus far. And when he got hurt in that Minnesota game, he was actually leading the league in total touchdowns as a quarterback. So I feel as if we've seen enough from Justin to warrant another season. I really hope he stays healthy here down the stretch. And, you look at the games that are left on this schedule, and if we beat Detroit this Sunday, it's not totally out of the realm of possibility to see this team still manage to win 7-8 games if everything goes their way.
So I was looking at it earlier. I think they lose to Detroit. I think Detroit at this
Do,
point has
do
way
you
too
think
much.
it's a close game?
No, I don't. I think Detroit has way too much to play for right now. I think you see Detroit come
Okay.
out and really not take anybody for granted at this point in their season. So I see the Bears losing to Detroit. But that being said, they still have three very easily winnable games against Arizona, Atlanta,
Cleveland?
and Cleveland. Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm hoping that, we see Justin play better, but I want to see the Bears win games. That's what I enjoy watching them do. But I'd like to see them stay somewhat, ideally, both picks in the top five. However, with the schedule the way it plays out for them and for some of the other teams, they very well could be, first and then something like seventh or sixth or somewhere around there.
Right.
So I just if you're gonna trade back, you have to trade back to like second or something like that. You have to stay in front of Arizona. I think Arizona takes Marvin Harrison Jr. if they get the chance. I really, if
Really?
it's me,
You
if
don't
it's,
think Arizona takes a quarterback? You think they're riding with Kyler Murray after
I
everything
mean,
that's transpired? I mean,
everything that's happened with Kyler Murray, I think a lot of that was the coach.
okay.
I forget his name's mistaking me right at the moment, but uh, the coach that was there, um, I think they're all in on Kyler Murray. I think, and he's played well since he came back. Like he's
He
shown
has.
that now that he's healthy, he's moving well. He throws a good football still. He's young too. Like, at least
He,
who he is.
he's
All
just
these
so
quarterbacks
small.
yeah, but all these quarterbacks in the draft, like they all have something that
Oh,
makes them go,
absolutely.
well, they could be good. At least him, he's there. If they could add a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr., I think that makes them way better than adding either Caleb Williams or Drake May.
Fair
Um,
enough.
so if I'm the Bears, if I'm Ryan Poles, I'm not coming there. I'm coming away from this draft with Marvin Harrison Jr. and either
Okay.
Fashanu if I'm high enough or Joe Alt if I'm not. You have
I'm
go
I'm
ahead.
so glad you brought that name up because, man, I've been watching a lot of Notre Dame clips. One of my good buddies here locally is a diehard Notre Dame fan, so he sends me a lot of film
Yeah.
when his Irish are hot, and they've been hot this year. So uh, I've gotten to watch a lot of film on Joe Alt, kind of scouted him a little bit myself, just knowing where the Bears are going to be at positionally in the
Yeah.
draft. And I really like Joe Alt as an option for the Bears. I think he kind of plugs that hole, and he's a versatile player where they could move him around the line if there's injury without too much issue. But you touched on it. You touched on the guy that I think the Bears need to draft, a generational talent in Marvin Harrison Jr. And it's not just the name. I don't care what his name is. That doesn't uh, give any warrant to his
Right.
physical ability to play the game of football. You watch that guy go up and make 2 weeks ago, he made a one-handed catch on the sidelines about 45 yards. It was like a 45-yard ball. And
Yeah.
it was just the most beautiful catch that I've seen in a long time. It reminded me of Des Bryant when he was in his prime going up,
Yeah.
or OBJ when he was in his prime, just going up and getting that crazy one-handed ball that nobody thinks you should catch, coming down with it, and then he runs it in for a touchdown somehow. And
Yeah,
it's like,
he's not as physical as they were, but to me, he reminds me of like a Randy Moss or Kelvin Johnson type player. He's big. He's
and
6'4".
that's those are two great names to be behind, bro. I couldn't think of, in their primes, obviously we would have loved to have either of those players on the Bears.
I mean, he's 6'4", so he gives Justin a big target. He likes to go deep. He's a deep ball guy,
Yep.
and Justin likes to throw a deep ball. He has a pretty good accuracy on his deep ball that a lot of quarterbacks don't have, not to mention elite arm
Right.
strength. He's a guy that Marvin Harrison can keep the play alive. When Justin runs to keep the play alive, he's going to scramble and get open, and kind of he's a very smart, high IQ player. He's a team first guy, at least everything
Right.
we've seen he is. I mean, come on, he's sitting there going, maybe I should go back. I want to beat Michigan and win a national championship.
Which is wild because
Yeah,
he's a top 3 pick, no
right.
matter how it shakes out. So
But yeah, so if I'm Ryan Poles, I mean, there's that. Like, if there's one guy that I have to come away with, it's Marvin Harrison Jr. And if you can't find a good trade partner to move back from one and feel you're still going to get him, then I'm okay with him staying at 1 and taking Marvin Harrison first overall. Like, I know it doesn't happen where you take receivers there, but if you can't find the right trade at this point, I'm ready for the team to start getting better. And
Right.
if I don't get to add an extra pick, then so be it. Like, I have to come away with Marvin Harrison Jr.
I'm totally with you on that. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is an absolute must-have in this upcoming draft for the Chicago Bears. With that being said, though, I think depending on how it shakes out, really, even if it's just a move back one spot, say with New England, if they're there at the 2 spot, or I mean, which is a real possibility given the Mac
Yeah.
Jones benching and now Bailey Zappi playing. If Arizona plays a little bit better, New England shifts into that number 2 spot. You could obviously paint the picture that you're going to take a quarterback with the number 1 overall pick and, drive that value up a little bit, play the game, be a little bit of a shoe salesman. And then you could come away or you could go to New England and say, hey, we'll trade you 1 spot back so you can have your choice of these 2 quarterbacks. And all the while you really want Marvin Harrison Jr. and you don't care as long as you add some value. We got Facebook user here in the chat saying that New England is up 7-3. Thank you. I am not watching the game, but if you do head over to YouTube, we can see who you are when you comment, or if you go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and click authorize, we will be able to see who you are when you throw your comment up on the screen. But with that being said, man,
New England is up 7-3 and TJ Watt's out of the game.
Well, with New England up, I mean, they're playing Mitchell Trubisky, so
but no,
you got to evaluate the talent here. But even if New England lands at 3, you could potentially kind of fleece them into wanting to trade up with you a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, a report came out about a week ago saying that New England was interested in Caleb Williams and moving up to get him. I think if you're Ryan Poles, you can move back to, ideally for them. I posted on, at X, I was going to say Twitter, on X the other day, that if New England stays at 2, I think that's really good for the Bears, because if you can move back to 2, even if you only add if you get the second overall pick, their second round pick, and maybe a pick next year. It doesn't even have to be a first round pick next year. If you can get a pick next year, it may not be the haul that everybody thinks that they're going to get for the first overall pick, but if you stay at 2, you can draft Marvin Harrison Jr., and now you add the second pick in the second round. Like that could be a huge pick for them, especially we've talked at nauseum on shows here that I'm all in on Cedric Van Pran, the center from Georgia.
Yes.
If you can move into the second round, especially a high second round pick, all you're doing is moving from 1 to 2, you're still getting the guy you want, Marvin Harrison Jr. You're getting the center from Georgia, Van Pran, and another pick next year. Like, it may not be the haul that everybody thinks, but it's a great outcome for the Bears. Like, that's a home run in my mind.
Well, and again, that alludes back to what you were saying about this team kind of being win now next year. Obviously not this season, but if they go into next season with that, we can compete, and I don't want to say win now, but they can be competitive next year.
Right.
If they go in with that mindset,
just win games.
Right. if you go into next season with that mindset, I feel that obviously adding a piece now, so to speak, getting Van Pran or a guy like there's a lot of offensive lineman depth out there in the first and second rounds this year. Where this upcoming draft lacks quarterback depth, I would say it's made up with offensive really and defensive line both. There's some top prospects out there. So overall, you look at the field and see what you can get. But if you, to your point, trade back one spot, still get the guy you want, and you're able to add another top tier talent, especially to your offensive line at center, which is a position the Bears have struggled with greatly over the past 3 seasons, really. I think that's a win-win situation. But real quick, Vince,
I was going to say a lot of that, it's not to mean to cut you off, but a lot of that's going to come down to free agency. If there's a center in Miami, Connor Williams, if he's not re-signed by Miami, that's the guy that the Bears have been rumored to be interested in. If they were to sign him, now you don't need a center. Now you've just filled that hole. So it all comes down to who's available in free agency as well.
Right. How does it shake out? We got a comment real quick here in the chat. What do you say that Jordan Love has 6 wins in his first year and Justin Fields has 7 in 3 seasons? I hate Packer fans. Well, I simply would say to that Jordan Love is coached by a better coaching staff. He's got better supporting talent around him. And I don't think Jordan Love's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. So more to come on that. Glad he's got 6 wins. Glad Packers fans can have their moment like they always do. But we're talking about the Bears, baby, and I'm happy. I don't want to get depressed now. We got our guest in the green room, though, Vince. So you want to go ahead and introduce our guest, and I will go ahead and bring him in.
Yeah.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Man, I'm doing pretty good, man. Just hanging in there, grinding as usual.
Yeah, for sure. First, I want to not only say thank you for joining us, but congratulations on signing with the Peach State Cats, as everybody can see under your name there.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
So you want to give us a little info on the Peach State Cats and tell everybody where they can find them?
Well, they stationed out in Sewanee, Georgia. It's like I'll say about 20 minutes from Atlanta. So not too far away, from the big city. They got a decent fan base, been out for a while. They played in 2 different leagues so far, AAL and the NAL, and then they went back to the AAL. I chose to stay here in the States and, just kind of go back into the arena lifestyle, stay close to home, close to where I'm living now, and take care of the kids, man. So that's the reason why I chose to come back. But Peach State was the ones who they close, and they were the ones that was giving the most, to be honest with you. So
hey,
so I have to go for the money too.
Yeah, sometimes that's what it comes down to. You got to get your bag too, right? So yeah, congrats, man. Appreciate you joining us. And before you jumped on, we were talking about the Bears and specifically Justin Fields. Justin Fields is a Georgia guy. You're down there in Georgia, right? So what's your opinion on Justin Fields, Darrien? We want to know how you're feeling, and do you think he's a guy the Bears stay with this season or next season? I mean, or do you think they move on?
I'm gonna be honest, man. I'm actually a Justin fan. I just think that he really need tools around him that could, progress him and make him better. But he also need to be, in a system that's going to allow him to play like Justin Fields,
Right.
So, with that being said, I think that the Bears would do a good job at keeping him, bring in Marvin Harrison Jr., and have somebody on the outside that he can rely on, and, get him a line that, that can protect him and put him in a system that's going to help him progress and get better.
Absolutely.
I think that's where the Bears are lacking right now. And I know, he's been there, this will be his, I think, 4th season coming up next year. So,
yeah.
He got to get it rolling. He got to get the ball rolling and get things jumping immediately, or, they would be looking at, possibly giving him up to somewhere else and putting him in the free agency.
Atlanta's been a rumored team that I keep seeing pop up that if the Bears get rid of Justin Fields, he's going to go play for the Falcons. Obviously, he's an Atlanta native, so there's some ties there that would make it make sense. But I would hate to see him go. That's kind of what Vince and I were alluding to before you joined us. I think the Bears fan base is overly critical of their quarterbacks. They always have been my entire life. I mean, there were people that loved and hated Jay Cutler, and then obviously most recently here Mitchell Trubisky, and then now Justin Fields coming in. It's like the quarterback position in Chicago is so hyper focused that we haven't gotten it right in like 25 years. So there's a lot of attention on the position, but ultimately I think Justin Fields is doing fine, and I think he should be the quarterback here in Chicago next season.
Agreed. I mean, Badgett's not a bad backup. You know, he stepped up and did what he, you know, as a backup, what he was supposed to do. But Justin is the guy. You know, Justin is the guy. If you can fit the system, fit the team around him, you know, that's what you brought him there for. That's what you're paying him the money for. You know, just as me being a Bears fan, like you said, I would hate to see him leave. You know, that's a quality athlete that we can keep on board and kind of build around.
Yeah, I mean, we had a guy on last week, Lester, that he covers the Bears, and we were talking to him, and I said, you know, it's one of those things that whatever side you're on about Justin, no one can say from what he's done that you can't win with him. So he, at the very worst, he's a guy that you can win with. He may not be a guy that ever you win because of, but he's definitely a guy you can win with. And who knows, maybe he grows into a guy that you can win because of. Like you said, if you add a Marvin Harrison Jr. and you know, finish off the offensive line, improve that, give him a pocket to get his feet. You know, you always see him like he's so quick to think, oh, I got to run, because he's so used to running for his life every play that now get him some stability behind that line where he can just get comfortable and sit there and hit the open receiver and get through his progressions without going 1-2, shit, I got to run. You know, let him get through 3-4 and see what happens.
Sometimes he ain't even getting through one before that offensive line's trash.
Yeah. So, you know, and then the other thing I said, and, you know, especially what we were talking about Atlanta, but I've always been a huge Michael Vick fan. And I think Justin's one of those guys that he not just can run the football. He's one of those guys. He is an absolute weapon when he runs the football. Like, he quickly goes from a quick little run to, next thing you know, he's down the field. He's big, he's strong, he's fast. He can run through tackles. You know, a lot of DBs, as you know, they're just throwing arms out there to tackle quarterbacks. He's running through that. He's making the next guy miss. So, you know, he can definitely a guy that you have to game plan for.
Agreed. And I think, you know, looking back at the things that he did well in college, you know, I don't think that the Bears, you know, as a coaching staff, is doing a good job at, you know, putting them in a position to be great. I mean, obviously, you know that your offensive line is a bit suspect. You see that he has some experience, you know, doing well, doing the RPO, run pass option style offense. You see that, you know, he's going to his first progression and taking off and running. Why not issue in the RPO like how you guys did Mitchell Trubisky? You know, it was that same deal, but now you take away that whole system, and you know you got this guy playing out of term. I mean, obviously, you know, I feel like, you know, with anyone, you put anyone in a system that doesn't fit their playing style, they're not going to be 100% effective. So, you know, we can say he's trash or anything like that, or say that he's not like the guy for the Bears, but you know, the Bears on the flip side is not doing what they're supposed to do to put them in a position to be great, man.
And that's what's so frustrating as a fan is, you know, the athleticism Justin Fields has, you know, the deep ball accuracy that he has, that he was known for at Ohio State. And then you see him come out and Luke Getzey's game plan is to throw 30 screens against the Vikings.
Right.
Like, you're just trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. And as you alluded to, and obviously with your playing experience, you know better than anyone, a good tailored offense should be tailored to the strengths of the quarterback. You play to the strengths that your quarterback has, not against them. And I think time and time again, we see here as Bears fans, it's just like, okay, now you have the perfect quarterback for an RPO offense, as you alluded to, and we don't have nearly enough RPOs in the game plan. We don't have enough bootlegs, play action in the game plan. Like, what are you doing? You're holding your quarterback back at the expense of your entire team. And it's a frustrating thing to see as a fan when you look at there's at least 3 games this season that the Bears could have won had they game planned better. And here we are. We've only won 4 games, guys. We're 4-8, and it's a long road, but we could still. I was telling Vince we could still win 8. There's a path to still win 8 games, as bad as the start of this season's been, man. Any given Sunday mentality.
Yeah, that's true. We starting off with the Lions on Sunday.
Yeah,
that's a big one.
Yeah, I was telling Tarbill, I think the Lions this time around, I think they play like we thought they were going to play it last time, and it's a tough one for the Bears. But there's a few easy ones in there. Not easy, but easier with Arizona and some of those teams they still have to play. But as a quarterback
with Joe Flacco.
Yeah, Cleveland Joe Flacco. Darrien, not that you've necessarily been through it, but as a quarterback, does it change the way you play or the way you attack the game when, with, let's take Justin, for instance, where he's sitting there and all the noise is he a franchise guy? Is he not the guy? Should we move on from him at the end of the year? Does it change the way you take the game or attack the game, and not necessarily what you do on the field, but just how you prepare for it?
Kind of, sort of, but you got to kind of stick to the plan. You know how, every team, you got outside noise and then you got your in-house noise, So,
right.
Everything is not always the player, especially at this level. It's not like how it is, in high school and even so forth in college. The coaches pretty much at this level is pretty much telling you what to do. You know what I mean? So
right.
The fans are obviously, which is the outside noise, they're obviously going to give their opinion on what it is that they feel that you do best and, how you could, make their team, which is, their home team, better for yourself. But you still have a coaching staff that you have to rely on. You still have, an owner that, this is his system. This is what he wants to run. This is how he wants to run it. And, you have to go with the flow and run with it. So as far as game plan, you can't change the plan. No matter how much you may want to or how much you may agree with that outside noise, you still have to stick to, to what it is that, that you have in front of you and that the coaches want you to do. Or, that guy behind you, like Badgett, they're going to go in and do exactly what the coach tells them to do, and they're going to be taking your spot. You know what I mean?
For
so
sure.
It's like you still have to compete, as far as, with the team, as far as on your team currently, and you also have to compete, against the opponents. Sometimes,
Right.
you can go out there and do your own thing and kind of maneuver based off how much comfortability they are giving you with the offense, whether it's like, different audibles and so forth. But other than that, you're pretty much sticking to the game plan. Whoever's the signal caller, as far as offensive coordinator, who's ever calling the plays, you kind of pretty much got to run with it.
And I guess that's something you mentioned at this level when you're playing professional football. You're kind of listening to the game plan. Does it vary a lot from coach to coach? Kind of what reins they let you have as far as calling audibles and making adjustments at the line. You do see some teams in the NFL, Kansas City, for example, Patrick Mahomes will be at the line and he's changing the formation and spreading receivers out. And obviously Coach Reed, and I don't want to give any credit to Matt Nagy because the wound's still a little fresh there, but for you and your personal experience, do you see a big variance from coach to coach on what is allowed to be done at the line of scrimmage at the quarterback position?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it depends on the team. like you said, it depends on the coach, how organized the team may be, or how how new the team may be compared to how old that team may be. Um,
Okay.
some of the, I would say, like some of the newer teams, which are gonna be kind of sort of the more unorganized type teams, they kind of give you a little bit more leeway. But with the teams that are a bit more established, you're gonna kind of roll with the flow as far as the coaching staff, and as they build their comfort in you, then they'll give you a bit more. You know, they give you a bit more that you can do as far as audibling or switching out of something, changing out of something, even changing the protection. Some teams don't even want you to change the protection. And
Okay.
I'm a big fan of changing the protection because I like to protect myself. So
Absolutely.
you're not giving me an option, and I got four hunting me on one side. I need to be able to hunt that back over to fill those gaps. And some teams, they don't want you to do that. So it's all based on the coaching staff that you have, and like I said, more of the newer teams, which they're trying to build a culture, kind of like how the Chicago Power was, things like that, teams like that, they give you a bit more leeway to kind of switch things up. But then you have the more established teams where you kind of got to stick to that ground rule until they let you loose on that.
Okay.
So we love all the Bears talk and all the quarterback talk you've given us. Let's talk about you for a little bit. So you've kind of done it both. You've played at a high level. You won a championship with the West Virginia Rough Riders, and you've played overseas at a high level. Which, if you have your choice, money aside, everything else aside, just pure football, which do you enjoy more? Do you enjoy the indoor game here in the States, or do you enjoy the outdoor game? I mean, you've played outdoor here and overseas, so just the two games versus each other, indoor versus outdoor. Which is your favorite?
Favorite, I'm gonna have to go with outdoor, like hands down. But indoor, I love the game because it is like it's like an adrenaline rush. No out of
Right.
bounds. Tight field. You got to get the ball out quick. Um, you can pretty much get hurt. You know how it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as far as as far as like my favorite, something that's more longevity, something that's more of what you dream of is outdoor. You know, even from college, I loved it in college. I loved it in high school. I love it now playing outdoor, overseas, traveling the world, going from country to country. Is It's just insane. But as far as on the field, it's arena could get a bit boring too, because there's not much that you can do. You can't see too many coverages. You
Yeah.
know, um, it's pretty much it can get redundant. At sometimes that's why you see basketball numbers in arena compared to being outside where it's a bit harder. You those numbers ain't the same no more. So playing overseas and being outside 11 on 11, I would take that any day. But it's nothing like being at home, being close to home, and still doing something that you love to do. So, I can't regret the opportunity that I'm taking right now.
It's kind of best of both worlds compromise, right? You
Yeah, kind
still
of,
get to
sort of.
play the game you love and get to be close to home, right there with the family, all equally important. So
Yeah.
So I have to say, while we were watching, or while you were going over that, I just looked over. Mitch Trubisky just threw his second interception. Threw Peppers and took it all the way back to the 5. And
Vince, he hasn't played for the team in 3 years. We
I
don't.
don't know. I was just gonna say, New England now leads 14-3 over Pittsburgh, and starting to look like New England might run away with this one. Did you? But
That's
interesting fact that they just said on the broadcast. Mitch Trubisky is still yet to throw a pick six in his entire career.
Yeah, I've heard about that. That's
That's
crazy.
because he's got a noodle arm and he doesn't throw the ball more than 4 yards accurately.
Tucker is just about broke it, but he got tackled at the 5-yard line, and they popped up that he's, I think, one of, if not the only quarterback who's yet to throw a pick six out of starting quarterbacks. I was like, wow.
Oh wow.
Right. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, man, about Mitchell Trubisky. He could have probably been a bit better with the Bears,
Yeah,
but
they definitely didn't do him any favors.
They did
didn't
him
do him
zero
any favors.
favors.
And
I
now
mean,
he's transitioned over to the Steelers, and this shit
yeah.
getting bad.
And it's funny,
It's a
like,
bad environment for
and I
sure.
say funny, only Bears fans will understand, but, it's funny that now here we are going through the same cycle with yet another quarterback. It's so Bears-like that they take Justin Fields and you don't see any of his strengths being utilized. It's, well, let's see if he can do everything with his weaknesses instead of his strengths. But it's just, as only Bears fans understand, it's just so Bears-like that it doesn't matter the quarterback. It just seems like just enter quarterback and coach name here. It's just the same thing over and over and over again.
Vince, when we first started doing this show together and Mitchell Trubisky was the quarterback of the Bears, did I not use the same adage that I just said 15 minutes ago about them trying to fit a square peg in a round hole?
Yeah,
We've been doing the same thing, quarterback to quarterback,
Quarterback to quarterback.
system to system. Everything changes, but nothing changes.
Yeah.
It's like we're right back in it where, as you said, let's challenge the weaknesses of this guy and see what he can do with the areas really that he needs to improve and grow on. And we're not going to play to his strengths at all, which is, I understand you want to see what, I don't want to say what your quarterback's made of, but if that player can overcome a little bit of adversity, right, and adapt to situations and be suitable to the system to an extent. But it's like, okay, guys, if this isn't working, we need to rethink what we're doing. We have a tremendous athlete here in Chicago in Justin Fields, and
Agreed.
we're just in a position where it's like, all right, well, we're going to throw 30 screen passes and see what he can do. See what he can do with that, knowing damn well knowing very well that he's got deep ball accuracy to throw, 50 yards easily with accuracy. And that's what he was known for at Ohio State was, those long 50 to 60 yard touchdowns, the throwing down the field accurately. And he had one pass greater than 20 yards last week, and it came in the fourth quarter on the final drive. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah, come on.
Well, especially when you add a receiver like DJ Moore, who it's crazy to think about. DJ Moore's probably going to wind up setting career highs in receiving yards and everything else in an offense that sometimes just sputters and doesn't go anywhere.
Agreed. But what's the purpose of bringing in DJ Moore or Marvin Harrison or any of these guys if you're not going to put them in a position to win? Like you said earlier, you're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole all the time. If you're going to do that, make everybody square. Bring in guys that fit the system that you want to run.
Absolutely.
Why draft Justin Fields? You're wasting his time. Like you've wasted 3 years of this man's time. Now he's like probably gonna have to go through a mental state to try to get into another frame. Everybody's not Geno Smith. Everybody can't be Geno. So it's like now you putting him in a position where he's gonna have to bounce around and figure it out. It's not always easy to get franchise tagged. So when you after that first franchise and you don't make anything happen, it gets a bit difficult. If you notice, for all quarterbacks that's been through that. So, kudos to Geno, but you see how it was for him at the Jets.
Yeah, it's crazy to see him now, all these years later, playing at a high level, especially last year, even more than this year. He played at a very high level last year. And it's one of those things, like you said, it's just sometimes it's just a matter of being in the right system that allows you to play to your fullest potential. And unfortunately, here in Chicago, we tend to see where our coaching staff makes the quarterbacks play not able to hit their potential.
Right. He's really athletic and he can do really good things on rollouts and bootlegs. Let's stand in the pocket and throw screen passes. I seriously want footage of what goes on in the players and coaches meetings throughout the week in Chicago, because obviously we'll never see that. But from my visibility, man, it's just like what are you talking about in this coaching room? What you're eating for dinner? Because
Yeah.
y'all aren't doing it here. That's
Well,
all
and
I
it,
got to
you
say.
know,
free money.
it makes you think too, like maybe it's bigger than the coaching staff. Like, is it coming from somebody much higher from the Bears? Like Darrien said, like sometimes they
Yeah.
want owners want you to run a team a certain way. Like, and you're gonna hear this is a one and one time only that it's gonna happen. But I'm about to stick up for Trubisky right now. You saw him under Matt Nagy run for first downs as a huge part of their offense. And then all of a sudden that stopped happening. You saw him not run for first downs and not do the things that the year they lost the Eagles in the playoffs on a double doink. That year, there were 3rd and 10s, 3rd and 8s, 3rd and all these longs that they picked up by Trubisky running. And then all of a sudden that stopped. He became a pocket quarterback. And now we see with Justin Fields, he's got such an athletic ability to make things happen and to get busted plays. But now we see him stuck in the pocket. Is that coming from Bears ownership? Are they saying maybe are they stuck in 1985 and we don't want another running quarterback. We just want everybody to stand there and throw the football. Who knows? Maybe it's coming from somebody higher than the coaching staff that it happens over and over and over.
But the problem, if that's the case, that's an organizational failure from the top down, Vince. I mean, you look at.
Would that surprise you with the Bears if there's an organizational problem from the top down?
No, it really wouldn't. Nothing surprises me with this team. Like, Darrien, I always allude to my favorite moment as a Bears fan is watching the Bears lose the Super Bowl in 2006. Like, that's the highlight of my Bears fandom, right? I'm only just turned 30, so
in my mind that game
I wasn't
stopped
alive for the 85 Super Bowl, so that's, to me, it's like 2006. That was the highlight. Devin Hester running back that opening kickoff in the Super Bowl in 2006 is the highlight of my Bears fandom. I always tell Vince and our viewers know this as well, that I was at the double doink game. I was standing at the seats on the 50-yard line when the ball hit the first upright, and then it hits the other side and bounces out. And I've never seen Soldier Field more electric because 62,000 people were booing in synchrony at once. Maybe like the 3 Eagles fans that were in the stadium were happy, but that was the craziest I've ever seen that stadium. But like those are the 2 best moments as a Chicago Bears fan in my lifetime in almost 30 years of fandom. And it's sad. Like I'm tired of the mediocrity is what I'm getting at here, man. Like I don't really have a point other than I'm tired of watching us play the Packers, and they show that in the time the Packers have had 3 quarterbacks, the Bears have had 26. I'm done with that.
I agree, man. It seems like, man, the best year we had was with Rex Grossman.
Right.
Which is wild.
Right.
Yeah, Rex Grossman and Cal Orton.
Yeah.
That was the bar here in Chicago.
Yeah.
That was it. That was the best it gets. Well, Darrien, we appreciate you coming on with us. It's been a great conversation. Why don't you tell our viewers where they can follow you, and not just yourself, but the team, and follow you guys on social media?
Well, you can definitely follow the team on social media and on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Peach State Cats, over in Sewanee, Georgia. So everything could be like I can like send you some things as well when we come off.
Yeah,
and you can also follow me on every site, Instagram, dboone12, Darrien Boone on Facebook, and also dboone12 on Twitter. And I also have our first game will be posted in March. I'm gonna send you over the schedule for that as well. And
yeah, keep us posted,
trying to get
for sure.
Yeah, keep you guys posted and keep you guys posted throughout the season. So maybe midway through the season we could, get back on live, and I can, let you guys know like how things are going.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Cool. We appreciate it, man. Great talking with you, Darrien, and thank you for joining us tonight. We'll talk to you soon, bro.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks, Darrien.
Man, some good football talk right there, Vince. It's always great. We know, I know from your days working in the Arena Football League with various teams, in the agency industry and everything, you've got a lot of connections to a lot of guys, and it's always great to bring those guys in and get some real player analysis and kind of perspective. I never played quarterback. I was a center in high school, bro. I don't know what was going through the mind of the quarterback. So it's always good to get those perspectives, man. And Darrien was so polite and gracious with his time. So shout out to him again, man. We'll definitely have to catch up with him mid-season, see how it's going, and go check out the Peach State Cats on all social media platforms, man.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to hold him to that part with here and have him back on. But it was great conversation. Like you said, it's cool to get not only a football player but a professional quarterback's point of view on it, right? Because it's very different than any other position in sports. Whether it's a pitcher in baseball, a quarterback in football, it's just some of those positions that unless you've done it and you've done it at a high level, it's hard to put yourself in that perspective and know what it's like and how the preparation and everything. So that was very cool. And it's even better when it's somebody who's from Chicago and a Bears fan, because then it just helps connect all the pieces for us. So
well, I know when he said he was out in Atlanta, I'm like, oh man, he's probably hoping Fields is going to the Falcons, and then he's like, I'm diehard Bears fan. I'm right there with you. I'm like, yes.
And how cool is it? How cool is it to hear him be 100% transparent and at the end be like, well, Peach State just offered me more than anybody else did too.
Hey, sometimes it is what it is. Like I said, bro, sometimes you got to go after the bag. You got to go where the money's at. And
it helps
for a lot of athletes, especially at, the indoor level or overseas or the XFL, USFL, now that those are merged. A lot of those guys, man, that's almost all of them. That's their livelihood. That's their source of income. So,
and for him, it's cool because his kids are in Georgia and everything, so he's able to be close to them. Plus, play for a team that's offering him the most.
Well, yeah, and that's what I said. Allude to it's the best of both worlds, right, for him. So that's awesome, man. Happy we got to bring Darrien on, and he was very cool to chat with about some football. But we're already about an hour in, Vince. So why don't we go ahead and take a quick intermission, and when we come back, we will jump into some Bulls talk. How's that sound?
Let's do it.
All right, guys, we will be back with you in, let's say, 50 seconds. All right, guys, and we are back with you right here on Turtle's Take on the Undefeated Sports Network. As always, I am Major Tarbill. To my left is my guy, Vince Turtle Mucci, and we are going to get into a little bit of Bulls talk now. So, as depressing as it is, we were having such a great time. Now we got to talk some serious, depressing doom and gloom topic for a little bit. No, I'm kidding, guys. Obviously, for our diehard Chicago Bulls fans, it's been a disappointing season. Hell, it's been a disappointing couple years since Ball got injured, because the team hasn't done, in my opinion at least, what they should have with depth at the guard position when Ball got injured. And obviously there's speculation that he's going to be down the rest of the season, right, and not return until next year. Is that correct, Vince?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, there's reports have come out earlier this season that executives inside the Bulls front office they feel like he may never play again.
which is crazy. Like
And the crazy part is he's
it's
25 years old.
it's D Rose all over again, except D Rose prospered, later in his career,
Right.
obviously, and much love to Derrick Rose, and the energy, blood, sweat, and tears that he gave to this city is unparalleled. That team with him and Jimmy Butler and guys like Joakim Noah, man, I want us to get back to those days. But let's talk about the current state of the Chicago Bulls and where they're at. And
Yo, Bailey Zappi is putting on a show tonight.
it's against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they're horrible. Calm down.
He just made a great throw. He went across his body down the left sideline, right in.
Wait, I'm going to stop you right there. You just said he made a great throw, and directly after that, you said he went across his body, which a quarterback is never supposed to do.
Well, he didn't go like across the field. He just, he went across his body, but down the left sideline to Hunter Henry. It was either Hunter Henry or Gesicki. I couldn't see which one, but it went between two defenders, and he caught it for a touchdown. And New England's up 21-3 right now.
Nice, very nice.
But yeah, no, sorry. I know I keep getting distracted, but
no, you're good. You're good.
It's hard to remember that we talked on this show in the very newborn stage of this show. We talked about the Bulls going out, and we thought they were going to go get DeMar DeRozan and Lonzo Ball. It happened. Okay, we're going to compete. That happened. Right. And then the wheels just fell off all at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. As you alluded to, there's such a downturn, right? Obviously the 2020 season, everything going so well. And I'm sorry, 2021, 2020 was the shortened season with COVID, right?
Oh, yeah. You're right.
So the 2021 season, first full season back after COVID, the wheels are churning in the right direction. Yeah. We're feeling good. We're, as you said, you zeroed in on those pickups, both of Ball and DeRozan in the early infancy of this show, and shout out to you on that. But just looking back now, where we're at current state and what this team's done since then, it's so frustrating because there was so much promise and everything was building up. Everything's going in the right direction. Bam, Ball gets hurt. And as you said, it's just like the wheels fell off of the bus. And now we're at the bottom of the league. We're in team purgatory again. And it's, similar to the situation that our Bears always manage to put themselves in. Now the Bulls, and I have to point a finger at Jerry Reinsdorf for a second, only because both of his franchises are at the bottom of the barrel. He's meeting with the mayor of Nashville to try to move the White Sox out there, which whatever, good riddance. I don't care. Lifetime Cubs fan, so that's fine with me. But, you just look at the state this team is in, and the Bulls have done nothing to help themselves after the Ball injury. And, a lot of it comes down to, I think, some of the personnel decisions that they've made. And I want to start with one, and that's giving Zach the Supermax contract. I mean, you go out and you pay Zach LaVine all this money, and what has Zach LaVine given you? Aside from that 2021 season, his numbers have been down. He's really turned into kind of a little bit of a drama queen type player, to where, the media, the noise is getting to him, and there's rumors that he wants out. There's rumors that the team wants to part ways with him. It's just so frustrating as a fan after seeing him give that big deal. But you follow the Bulls better than anyone I know, Vince. So I want to know your opinion and thought on a number of players, but let's start with Zach LaVine and the current status, where he's at, and what direction you think they're going to take with Zach.
Well, I think before you get to Zach LaVine, I think it starts with, and until this time, I've been very steadfast at defending the name of AK, that he was the guy that was going to make the difference, you saw what he did with the team in Denver. He's great at finding those players. It was all these, but now you look at the decisions he's made, and you almost wonder if maybe we were sold on somebody who really just isn't as good as we thought he was.
That's kind of the feeling that I have. I mean, after some of the contract decisions and just the way that they've failed to bring in really a supporting cast, especially I look at, not to cut you off, sorry, but I look at a lot of the guys that we've parted ways with since AK's come in. A big one for me, Thaddeus Young. I loved Thad when he was on the Bulls, and I thought he was a great 6th, 7th man, great rotational piece. A strong leader, veteran guy that brought a certain type of presence and swagger to the locker room and uplifted the team. You may not have gotten the numbers out of him that you would have liked for what you were paying him, but he gave great leadership, and he was good friends with Zach LaVine. He kind of kept him in check a little bit, and
he kept him happy, right? Like he kept Zach balanced. Like it never got too dark because his friend was there, so it always helped.
Right. And he's just one of many. But go ahead, Vince.
I was gonna say, I think you're dead on with guys that we've seen leave this Bulls team and go other places. My boss at Crumble, he's from Utah, so he's a huge Jazz fan. So we talk often about Lauri Markkanen. Lauri Markkanen was a guy that you couldn't get anything out of. We were told we can't get anything out of him. We can't win with him. It reminds me of the Mike Singletary rant. Can't win with him, can't play with him, won't do it. That's what we were sold about Lauri Markkanen. And now you see Lauri Markkanen go to a team in Utah where not only is he blooming, but he's the guy, right? Like he's the number one option. He's scoring 20 plus points a game. He's getting rebounds. He's dunking the ball. He's doing all the things, that
we wanted him to
do. And that's why we're moving on from him, because he can't do these things. To now we're seeing him do these things for the Utah Jazz. And I mean, if you look at it, from that time to now, you've seen the Vooch trade, which turned out to be awful for the Bulls, then turned into a second contract for Vooch, and all these things, and Andre Drummond, and all these things that we were told was going to help solidify this front court for the Bulls, when really, if you just had Lauri Markkanen, that would help.
Oh, absolutely. And you bring up an excellent point there with obviously the Nikola Vucevic trade. We were both high on it when, admittedly, when he came over here from the Magic, it was like, okay, solid pickup, AK. You did your homework. I like the trade. I like what he's going to bring. And, aside from his first year here, I don't think he warranted getting a contract extension based on his play, honestly. But the question is, if you don't extend him, right, who do you throw in there? Andre Drummond's come over to Chicago, obviously. At one time, Andre Drummond was a big name, right? He was a guy that you would like to have in your starting five, and for whatever reason, they can't bring the best out of him here in Chicago.
It reminds me when the Bears brought in Orlando Pace, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, Orlando Pace! He was like a 10-time Pro Bowler." And it's like they're just at this point in their career, they're not that person anymore. But that's Chicago, right? That's Chicago sports.
That's what we do.
We get the guys when they're already done. We don't get them when they're in their prime. We get the guys, we get Dwayne Wade and everybody when 5 years after we wanted them the first time. We get them when they can't do all the things that made us want them that in the first place. They can't do those things anymore.
Dwayne Wade never actually played a game in a Bulls uniform, right?
No, he played. I mean, he was on the court.
I know that was a joke for you, but it goes back to even like a couple years ago when they were trying to bring Carmelo Anthony in, right?
I was going to say, you're thinking Carmelo Anthony. They finally traded for him about 8 years later and then cut him before he ever played a game.
Right. Which he was still out there doing better than some of the players on the Bulls, man.
And even that, then he left and he went to the Lakers and he had the highest shooting percentage of his career. It's like all these things happen in the Bulls and all Chicago sports. It's like, nah, we're good. We don't need that.
It's crazy. But moving back to our current roster and kind of the way that this has been assembled. So you look at pieces like Kobe White, you look at Tyrese Halliburton. Kobe White obviously was here before AK, right? And
He was.
I've
It's funny
always
though,
liked Kobe. I'm not gonna go, too far down the rabbit hole with Kobe White. I think he's a serviceable bench guy, and I just don't think at this point in his career he's a bona fide true starter. But he's a guy that I think definitely adds nice depth at the guard position.
you see what he's done here the last 3 games without Zach LaVine. He's now holds the franchise record for most games with three or more 3-pointers at 9 games in a row. All these things, but then
Okay.
you look at what could have been. You could have had Tyrese Halliburton. He was taken one spot after Kobe White by the Sacramento Kings, and he's now been traded to the Pacers, and he's playing all league level. And
I was gonna say he's playing the best ball of his career, right?
correct.
And that's what I wanted. That's why I linked the two together,
Yeah.
because you look at the miss that could have,
Right.
what could have been, and it's beyond frustrating. You look at the acquisition of Alex Caruso, man. The Lakers fleeced us when we got Alex Caruso. And we thought we were getting the better end of the deal. Don't get me wrong, I like Caruso defensively, and at least his first couple seasons here in Chicago. Not so much this year. I think his defense is slowing down a little bit, but
it's weird because this year he's been asked to. He started games at power forward. He's started games at point guard, at shooting guard, like all over the place. And I mean, I give him all the credit in the world. He's a bulldog. He's a defensive menace. All those things, but at 6'5", you're only going to do so much at power forward against some of these bigger guys.
Right.
When you look at all the moves of AK's regime, the first pick his regime made was Patrick Williams.
And Wendell Carter Jr.'s out there thriving.
Yeah, I mean, we were told that Patrick Williams, don't worry that he didn't start games at, where'd he go? Florida State, I think he went.
Yep.
Don't worry that he didn't start games at Florida State in college, that it's okay, that it was just because they had a deep team and blah, 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 blah. And we went, okay.
It's because he wasn't the best guy there.
Right, like I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. And now you've got a guy in Patrick Williams who says, well, I want $200 million. And it's like, well, I would like you to average double-digit points. Like you go out there
I would like you to not be afraid to shoot the ball, sir.
Right. And you hear him say the things about, well, we've worked with Patrick. We're teaching him to be more aggressive, doing these things. Where? I've yet to see that.
Right. And not just where on that. You shouldn't have to teach a professional basketball player how to be more aggressive. Like,
not at this point,
I'm just going to say it at a simple, like as simple as possible. Either you have that dog in you or you don't.
Or you don't.
And the dog in Patrick Williams is a Chihuahua.
Yeah. I mean,
it just ain't there.
When you look at all the things between Patrick Williams and the Supermax to Levine and ushering out Lauri Markkanen and all these things, I just don't understand how it's almost like we're hearing the Gar Pax thing again.
Do you miss Gar Pax yet? Are we at that point?
I mean, I just feel like it's the same thing. Like you see all these things. Like here we are in year 2 to 3 of Lonzo Ball not being able to play, yet you've brought in no point guards. You've brought in no one to take that spot. You brought in no one,
right?
Especially because you tell us all that the reason we're not competing is solely Lonzo Ball. That when we had Lonzo, the offense flowed better, the defense was better, but yet you've made
that was 3 years ago.
And you've made 0 moves in 3 years to try to fix that. Like,
and these guys are getting. I mean, these guys are getting old.
Play.
Like DeMar DeRozan's what, 36, 37 now?
I think he's 34, but still, like,
I know he's not quite that old. But you
you've got look at that they keep telling us. Zach LaVine has gone from a supermax player to now Adrian Wojnarowski came out earlier or late last week and said there is 0 trade market for Zach LaVine right now. Nobody wants to pay him $215 million. First off,
not to play the level of basketball he's been playing this season.
First off, he's a diva that has turned into a guy that only wants to play when it's convenient for Zach LaVine. He's a guy that
I hate that.
And I know this is going to shock you because I'm such a humble and modest person, but I'm going to puff my chest out a little bit here and tell all the people who came on this show who, are Bulls guys, came on this show and told me I was dead wrong about Zach LaVine when I said Zach LaVine cannot be trusted with the ball in his hand in the fourth quarter. All I have to say is I rest my case. He cannot be trusted with the ball. He can't. He doesn't make the correct shots. He misses open guys on the pass, and he turns the ball over. All things that tell you the guy can't play with the ball in his hand. So now you take the ball out of his hand and you put it where? Okay, DeMar DeRozan. Well, DeMar DeRozan's a guy that's a great ISO guy, but he's not he's not a facilitator. So all these things happened, and you have nobody to go to. You didn't go after Therese Halliburton, and we hear, well, we didn't go after him because we had Lonzo Ball, but you drafted Kobe White. So what was the mindset there that, oh, well, Kobe's a scorer and Therese is more of a facilitator? I don't know. He's averaging almost 30 points a game. Seems to me like the dude knows how to score.
We could really use a facilitator in the fourth quarter right now, too.
Yeah, I mean, it's all these things that you say they're really good at, and again, I think you said it best. It goes to Reinsdorf. They're very good. The Sox are good at it too. No. Don't look at this right here. Go look over there. We don't have a point guard for 3 years because Lonzo Ball's been hurt for 3 years. Oh, but look over here. We're talking about Zach LaVine. All these things, they want to cover things and throw these band-aids on. At some point, when do you get better? When do you make the team better? And it falls on Jerry Reinsdorf. When do you demand that your front office of both your teams compete? The White Sox were picked to win the World Series 2 years in a row.
And then they lost 100 games.
I just don't understand. And then it's okay. And not to get too far off course, but
no, go ahead.
When we're going to talk later about Shohei Ohtani, but when they brought up Shohei Ohtani to Jerry Reinsdorf about what he thought about a Chicago team, the chances of a Chicago team bringing him in, he laughed. Why would a Chicago team go after Shohei Ohtani? Maybe because he's the best player in baseball. And you're a billionaire. Maybe you should go bring him in.
Maybe you should watch what he does. I rest my case, but
I'm just very
going.
I'm over the honeymoon phase or whatever it's called with AK and his regime with the Bulls. I've seen nothing. Billy Donovan is not making any player on that team any better than they were before they got to him. AK is yet to bring in anybody to make this team run. At this point, you might as well trade DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, everybody, because you're not doing anything anyways. But it's very frustrating to be again at the point of it's time to rebuild. I feel like the Bulls are just in constant transitions of rebuild.
Right.
We rebuild. We're kind of competitive for a little bit, and then we go back in the bottom.
Then it's time to rebuild again, and it's garbage time for 4 years. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Before we move on to our closing portion of the show with Shohei Ohtani, I do want to bring up two more names on the Bulls roster that we haven't talked about: Ayo Dosunmu and Dalen Terry. So give me some thoughts on those guys before we wrap it up.
I like Ayo. He's a very defensive, high energy guy.
Absolutely.
Good passer. But
he might be a little biased because I'm an Illini fan, but
yeah, I mean, he had a great rookie year, but he's another guy that is taking steps backwards now. And it's funny because, and whether this is a Billy Donovan thing, whether this is an AK thing, whether it's a Bulls thing, I'm not really sure. But that point guard spot, we just seem to be switching guys around with Ayo and Kobe White. Kobe White was the point guard. Then Ayo came in, and then it was, well, Kobe can't play. Ayo's the future. Then fast forward to this year, we're back to, well, Kobe's the guy, and Ayo's just okay. I just don't see enough out of Ayo that makes you don't see those things that you saw as a rookie. You don't see them now. But again,
and something sorry to cut you off, but something has to
you're
be
good.
said about, the rotational consistency in that role. And I think that's what you were trying to allude to, Vince, is, at some point you have to have a guy and he has to be the guy. I get it. You have more flexibility in basketball, more rotations, different sets require different skill sets from the players, no pun intended there, but you have to have a clear-cut starting five, and this picking and choosing, piecing together each and every night who is going to be the five. You lose that cohesiveness and that gelling of your starting rotation when you're constantly moving pieces in and out, and it's detrimental to the progress of certain players. And you hit the nail on the head there with Io DeSumo and some of the regression that we've seen this season. I think that's largely in part to the instability of how they're using Io and Kobe. And you can't just go back and forth. Like, one of them has to be your number one option, has to be the guy in the starting lineup as of now. And you've got to have some stability there, right?
Yeah, I think, it not just anything else. You have to know, like, how is this offense shaped? How is it going to flow? Like, who's the offense going to work through? Like, obviously it's going to be different from game to game on who's got the hot hand, who's got the better matchup, all those things. But, like, if you had to hold Billy Donovan's feet to the fire and he had to be honest, without using the name Lonzo Ball, who would you want on his team to be your starting point guard? If it's Kobe White, well, that's great. But even Kobe, as great as he's played the last 3 games, he's a scorer. He's not a facilitator.
Right.
Zach LaVine,
100%.
He's a scorer. He's not a facilitator. DeMar DeRozan, he's a scorer, not a facilitator. But there's so many scorers on this team without
no true facilitator.
The ball just doesn't move where it needs to move. And then to get to the other one, Dalen Terry, you see these things. We basically were sold on a smaller version of Patrick Williams. Okay.
Right. A smaller version of what Patrick Williams should have been.
On the surface, okay. I'm with that. Right. But where does that fit into this team? With the Bulls, they go through these stretches where they don't have anybody that you could say, I'm going to go get a bucket down to, like, I always tell people, you see them come down the floor, they have the lead, or it's a 2-point game, whatever. They come down the floor, they hit Zach, he misses a shot. Transition, bucket the other way. They come back down the floor, they throw it to DeRozan, he misses a shot. Transition, bucket the other way. You come back down the floor, and now 4 possessions later, since you've scored, it went from a 1-point game to now you're down double digits. And now you're like, okay, who can I count on to get me a bucket?
Who can I give the ball to?
I don't know who that man is. And then for a scorer, you look at there's stretches where, especially when DeMar and Zach are both on the floor, that one of them doesn't touch the ball for a while, whether it be because the other is having a good night and he's hitting his shots, or because whoever's at point is just trying to facilitate the ball, but one of them doesn't see the ball for a while. And sometimes they don't get into a rhythm because, okay, I hit a shot, now somebody else's turn. Okay, I got to wait my 4 possessions to get the ball again. And it's like, I don't know. This many years later into Billy Donovan, I don't understand what this Bulls offense is supposed to look like or what he sees this offense looking like. And it goes the same with AK. I just don't see what he sees this team looking like going forward. Like
neither do they, and that's where the problem lies. I just don't think that they have a vision at this point. They came in with a vision, but I think it's gotten so clouded that they don't even know what they want to do. And they sold us
all on a very specific vision, but we're so far from that now that it feels like just a bunch of random pieces thrown together.
Right. You can polish a turd, but no matter what you do, it's still a turd. You know what I'm saying? And that's
absolutely.
That's where we're at. Unfortunately, that's where we're at with this Bulls team, is like we're a team that needs to rebuild at this point, and it's frustrating, but
and I know this is usually your spot to transition, but I think a perfect transition into our next topic. I'm so tired of Chicago sports, who are all multi-millionaires, if not billionaires, saying that we have plenty of money to spend it when it's time, and then not
then we
spending it
don't.
when it is time.
That sounds like the Cubs, the Sox. The Cubs have made a couple moves in free agency that I like. And that transitions us into our next topic to wrap the show up. We've alluded to it a couple times here this evening. So let's talk the man, the myth, the legend, Shohei Ohtani. He's supposed to be making a decision. Rumors are that he's going to be making a decision here within the next week or so, right? Is the buzz around Twitter, or I'm sorry, X, the platform formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah, I just
shout out to Prince there with the reference. But no, ultimately, Shohei Ohtani, you said it earlier, is one of the best baseball players in the MLB right now. You actually said the best. I would say top 5. Either way, no matter where you put him in that ranking, in that upper echelon, is he 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Doesn't matter. He's still better than any player,
99% of the league.
Any player that the Chicago Cubs have on their roster right now. I didn't know if I wanted to say that, but I'm going to say it. That's the reality of the situation. So he's better than any player the Chicago Cubs have on their roster. It sounds like our manager, Craig Counsell, has not sat down with him thus far. I think they asked him at one of the media sessions yesterday or the day before if he had met with him, and he said no, flat out. But it also came out that Ohtani doesn't want the teams that he's talking with disclosing that information publicly, and that he may hold that against a team if it comes out that they're close to reaching a deal or something like that. So are the Cubs playing hardball? Is there a chance? So you're saying there's a chance that the Cubs could land Shohei Ohtani? That's what I'm wondering. And Vince, you know better than anybody my love for the Chicago Cubs and what, as a fan, that would do. It'd be all sorts of excitement for your guy over here and for you and our guy Angelo as well. But what's the real chances, do you think? Do you think he's going to a team like LA? Do you think?
So that's what the word is right now, is that it looks like the Dodgers and him were working on a $600 million contract. People thought it might go there. The expectation was it was going to start at 500, maybe a little lower.
$600 million, huh?
Yeah.
That's wild.
It's tough too, because you hear so many different things. And then Jed Hoyer was asked about it, and he said that they have absolutely not been told by Shohei Ohtani's camp, or have they told Shohei Ohtani's camp that they're out of the running for him. There was a lot of pushback there when he was asked about it.
Right.
I heard ESPN's Jesse Rogers was talking about it. He was at the owners' meetings in I think they're in Nashville this year. And he said that, a few feet over from Craig Counsell, while he was saying, no, I haven't met with Shohei Ohtani, was Dave Roberts of the Dodgers saying, yeah, I met with him for 2 to 3 hours at Dodger Stadium. But to your point, you hear a lot of reports, some saying that his camp doesn't want that reported. And it sounds like that to be legit, because when the Dodgers GM, I forget his name, but when he was asked about it, he basically made it sound like maybe Roberts spoke out of turn by saying that he met with him. So, who knows? As that goes on, maybe that does play a part in this. It sounds like from all the so-called experts that it was the Dodgers and the Cubs as the two favorites.
Right. And if he specifically said he didn't want that news out there in the public, and so here's the thing, and I don't at all want to make this a conversation about race, but foundationally, in Asian culture, it's a different level of respect, where if I ask you to do something, you do it, you give me that respect.
Yeah.
And Ohtani's requested the respect for those talks to remain private. that may be a much bigger deal to him than
Correct.
what it would be to
An American-born player.
an American-born player.
Right.
And
Oh,
and it's
absolutely.
strictly a cultural thing. I mean,
Right.
you know,
No, you're
me
right
w
100%. I mean, this is a guy that really is at the center of the baseball universe. Like, he's the best player in the world, and he
Right.
plays both ways. He offensively and as a pitcher, he's the best, right? Like, he's that kind
Right.
of guy. So if anybody who could make himself a bigger name, it would be him, and he's chosen not to do that. A lot of people have judged him for it, but I mean, to each their own. Some people like their privacy. You know,
Yeah, and
I heard a report, or they were interviewing Jesse Rogers on ESPN 1000. He said that Shohei Ohtani won't even tell anybody the name of his dog that's been in the pictures with him. Like, that's how private this guy is. And there's nothing
well,
wrong with
and
that.
that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You know,
Absolutely.
you look at, and that's unfortunately we do it, you know, from an analyst perspective and also from just a fan perspective. We hold these athletes to this higher standard, and you should to a degree, but in parallel with that, you know, these guys do deserve to have their privacy if they wish to it.
Yeah.
There's no reason. I saw an ad, it wasn't an ad, an article on Facebook when I was scrolling through the other day in the meta universe. There's pictures of Justin Fields' house, man. Like,
Right.
I don't need to see what
Right.
Justin Fields' house looked like before he
Correct.
bought it in 2019. I don't care.
Right.
That's
Right.
where he lives. That's his home. That's
Yeah.
his private space. Like,
Yeah. No, I'm right there
you
with
know,
you.
and it goes back to
The line's
even like
definitely blurred.
all the way back. Let's take it all the way back to the Steve Bartman thing, man.
Yeah.
That guy had zero privacy, was just a
Right.
regular dude in a bad situation and had to move out of where he was living because people
Right.
were coming by his house, leaving shit in his yard, giving him death threats. Like, at the end of the day, we all got to settle down a little bit as Chicago sports fans. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it
back to
definitely
Ohtani,
gets
if he
very
wants his
meat-fetish.
exactly back to Ohtani, if he wants his privacy, you know, as I said, culturally, he's asked for that. It's a culturally, respect is much more significant for him, and you know, as you said, it's something that could be held if it's down to the Cubs and the Dodgers went out and disrespect. He may see that as an act of disrespect. I specifically asked you not to speak
Address it,
publicly about negotiations, and you spoke out of turn about it. That if it's between the Dodgers and the Cubs haven't done that, and you know, they came out and said that they haven't even sat down with him one-on-one, whether they have or haven't, if they're honoring and respecting his wishes and it comes down to $5 to $10 million,
Right.
maybe you see Ohtani in a Cubs uniform. I would love it. I think we would all love it as Cubs fans, but what I'm saying is, you know, it's a chess match when it comes to trying to acquire these top tier talents. And I think,
Yeah, and you know, it's tough because is it the Cubs? Is it the Dodgers? Is it the Blue Jays? Is it back to the Angels? Is it what it's going to be? You know, there's a high demand list. The problem
right,
that I have with it that kind of ties to the whole thing together for me is if you're Jed Hoyer and you make this guy priority one, all other business is on hold until we decide, till the Ohtani thing is finalized. You better not lose. Like, you
right.
you
You
better be the
better
guy,
land him.
because
If
now
this is the hill you're gonna die on, you need to
right,
go die on that hill
because now
and
you've
make
seen
this
other
happen.
teams say, "Well, we're gonna turn our attention back to other pieces." The Yankees acquired Juan Soto, so like now
Yep.
you've lost out on Juan Soto. Let's say you don't get Ohtani. Where is the improvement coming from? Are you
Who
good?
did
Do
I
you then
just
go
see
and
yesterday?
go to Bellinger? Like, what is? I just hope there's a plan there that if you didn't get Ohtani, this is what you were going to do. But as more pieces get taken off the board, your options become less and less. So
Right.
if that again, I just don't want to be sold on well, we tried. It reminds me of the White Sox and Manny Machado. Well, we made an offer.
We tried.
And then it comes out, well, your offer was $100 million less than everybody else. It's like, you didn't really try. You just made an offer.
Did you consider that an offer at this time?
Like,
right.
So I don't know, man. I super hope that they get him. I would love that more than anything. But I just, the Cub fan in me and the Chicago sports fan in me just holds very little optimism that that's where somebody's going to decide to come play, or that they're going to do what's needed to get it, whether they're going to spend the money or they're going to do this. Ricketts has not been a guy that's spent a lot of money as an owner.
No, you're absolutely right.
I mean, like agency and stuff like that with payroll, but I don't know. I just don't. If you weren't going to do it, then why did you go get Craig Counsell and pay him the most money in baseball? If you weren't going to pull out all the stops to improve your team, I don't know.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, man. I'm right there, and I think that really talking baseball is a good way to end the show because we've been going for an hour and a half now. It doesn't even seem like it. It's been great to grace the airwaves with you again, my friend.
Yeah.
And for all of you that have tuned in, we do appreciate each and every one of you. Please make sure that you go like, subscribe, and follow Turtle's Take and the Undefeated Sports Network, especially on X. Go get our guy Turtle some more followers. He'll be posting his opinion loud and proud, as I will. You can find Vince at Turtle's Take on X, and you can find me at Tarbill_1252 on the X platform. As always, we are going to go back to a normal format weekly show here, guys. Thursday nights between 7 and 7:30, we'll be going live. A lot of that will just be dependent on when we get set up after work, depending on what's going on. But for the most part, we're going to try to hit that 7 o'clock start, 7:30 at the latest. So just really wanted to give everybody that update that we're here and moving forward. We're going back to giving you the content that you guys love. So we appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. As I said, be sure to go like, subscribe, and follow the Undefeated Sports Network on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. We are everywhere. Make sure you hit that bell on YouTube so you don't miss out when we go live. And we will see you guys right here on Turtle's Take on the Undefeated Sports Network next Thursday night around 7 p.m. So looking forward to getting to talk a little bit more Chicago sports with you as always, Vince, and we'll talk soon.
Definitely.
Have a good night, everybody.